Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here, and we are back with the preview. Apologies, I haven't got my normal setting behind me. Unfortunately, I have just come back from Keswick, so everything's a little bit nuts back here at McGilligan and One Leeds HQ. Make sure you tune in for us on Monday evening. We will be going through the game that will unfold on Sunday with myself, KG, and Brownie. The debrief has been going on now for 2 weeks. You guys are absolutely loving it. It's smashing numbers for One Leeds, so please keep it up. And as I say, I hope you're all doing really well in the comment section below. I tell you what, don't know if you can quite hear that, but it is grim weather here in Yorkshire. It is awful. So let's try perk you up, I should say, with some Leeds United discussion. Mooks, hello. Stephen Underwood, hello. Afternoon, Connor, says Jordan. Afternoon, Connor, says Harry. I hope everybody's all right. Vic says he's got a nice can of IPA, 6.5%. Vic, my holiday in Keswick, mate. I've been having a bit of pop every single day. You know what I mean? It is one of those. But let's get into it, guys. Team news: Leeds United straight off the bat. Patrick Bamford not available. Reaction from Marcelo Bielsa'S press conference. We found out that there is no return date on Patrick Bamford and Robin Koch. So that's a little bit of a worry. I think we were all expecting it to just be a month after the Newcastle United game, which was what was quoted essentially after the game, but that's not the case. So we don't know what's going on there. Patrick Bamford, no return date as of yet. Robin Koch, I think it's going to be a bit of a long-term one for Robin, to be quite honest with you. So that one is still up in the air as well. Some positive news: Raphinha, Firpo, and Calvin Phillips are all okay. Bielsa also paid testament to the willingness and mental fortitude shown by Stuart Dallas in playing through his grief and after suffering COVID. I believe that was after, I've not watched the full interview with BBC Radio Leeds, but I believe Stuart recently has lost a friend. So from everybody at One Leeds, myself, Brownie, and everybody associated with the channel, we send our condolences there. And it must be a horrendous time for Stuart as well. What a critical part he has in this Leeds United side, and to maintain and uphold those standards whilst going through some really, really tough personal times, including COVID, must be absolutely horrendous for the Northern Irishman. So we send our best wishes there. So yeah, so that's not great news, but it was good hearing Marcelo Bielsa talk about Stuart and discuss his commitment to the side and commitment to the cause with Leeds United, which I think all of us know with every single part and every single compartment of this Leeds United setup, they're all committed. They will all die for this cause, and they will all put absolutely everything in for the shirt. And that's what we wanted and craved for years and years and years, wasn't it? Under the Warnock era and the McDermott era and all this sort of stuff, we wanted a team who would die for that shirt, and I fully believe we've got that. And hopefully that can come to fruition this weekend. Paul Smith says, Cagliari calling Connor, 6:35 a.m. here. We need to win this match. And well, hopefully with the performance, love the channel. All Leeds, aren't we? March on together, Cagliari White. Yeah, massive. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, buddy. Mark Tuffy, morning from Wisconsin, USA, marching on together. What's the weather like, Mark? It's awful here. Absolutely awful here. Alid says, anyone else thinks Ayling doesn't get in over Shackleton? Let's get into it, shall we? And Carl just pays some nice tribute to Stuart Dallas there. Watched the interview with Dallas, was hard listening. The man needs some time out, and I think we all understand that, don't we? When we see Stuart playing at this moment, it's not going well for him, and this is where you've just got to completely understand. His playing time has been decent this season, but the performances haven't been at that level, and maybe he does need some time out. And I think we all know that he needs some time out, and others need to step up. Stuart's done a sterling job for us for years and years now, and maybe he just needs a little bit of a rest and time to get himself right. I think that is massive in football. The mental side of football is is as important as the physical, if not more important. So yeah, I hope he gets well soon. I think we're all going to be there for him as a fan base. But yeah, let me know what you think about the team news, guys, with regards to what's going on with Patrick Bamford. Obviously, Firpo looking like he's going to be coming back in to the side, which is going to be beneficial for Leeds in terms of the balance. I think the balance of the team with a left-footed left back is naturally always going to be 10 times better. Now, the discussion and what I want to ask you guys as well is, what would you do right back? What would your right back situation be? I put a poll out on the One Leeds Fan Channel Twitter. Go check that out if you haven't already. Cody Drameh or Jamie Shackleton at right back. Drameh was fantastic, I thought, against Arsenal. Absolutely fantastic. And we're losing. We've not got that zip or energy in the middle. And to take someone like potentially Stuart Dallas out, put Shacks in the middle like we saw against Fulham when he was brilliant, I thought, in that first half. Put Firpo left back so it gives us a little bit more balance, and then maybe potentially leave Stuart out for this one. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think Drameh looked absolutely fantastic. We've spoken about him on One Leeds Fan Channel before about his ability to get into that first team and stay in that first team, put in some really sterling Premier League performances. And I think this is his best chance. And let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can do. Give Shaq a go in the midfield, a little bit of energy, a little bit of zip, which we're missing in there, in and around Calvin Phillips. Let's see what can happen there. Let's see. I think the trial and error stage is now at full swing in terms of what we've been doing with the likes of Somerville, with the likes of Gelhardt, and why can't we try Cody Drameh there? I think this is a great crop of youngsters, and I'd love to see that. Stephen says Drameh can play left back. Nigel comes in and says Drameh to start against Norwich for me. Let's have a look. Hi, Connor. How's you? Hello, Gail. Hope you're all right. Steve Wilkinson. Hello from sunny Bournemouth. Awful. James says has to be Shacks. That, by the way, from sunny Bournemouth. That's not Bournemouth. That's horrible. It's York, where I am, which is nasty. Drameh needs time, in my opinion. I think that's another interesting perspective, isn't it? It's the time element, because how much time have Leeds got right now? We've spoken multiple times on this channel about players needing time, players needing, that level, Junior Firpo needing time to get used to the system, Daniel James needing time to get used to the system. Well, after Norwich, that's going to be 10 games, guys. That's going to be 10 games gone. And normally that's a yardstick of where you're going to be in the Premier League. So can we keep knocking on the door with this as a not as an excuse, because I think that's more negative than positive, but with that reasoning, I think if they're good enough, they're old enough. I think you've got to just be chucking some of these players in. We saw it with the crop of Smith, Woodgate, Kuehl. If they're good enough, then you throw them in. I think at this moment in time, I don't think that Cody Drameh is levels below Jamie Shackleton. I don't think Joe Gelhardt is levels below Rodrigo. I don't think Lewis Bate is levels below an Adam Forshaw. So I would understand that, but this inexperience thing, we've seen Joe Gelhardt come into a Premier League game like he did against Wolves and shine. We saw Drameh in a really intense game against a good Arsenal side, an in-form Arsenal side, arguably Leeds' best player in that first half. So they're showing they can do it. So why not give them a go? Lewis Bate, for me, would also be someone who would fit into this side seamlessly. Play Raf up front with Rods. If we are lacking Bamford, Gelhardt and Drameh is too many youngsters in a must-win game, I think. Fascinating there, James. So what would be your equivalent there, mate? I'd be fascinated to hear. James up front with Harrison left, Raphinha right as headers. I think the thing is with that headers is I'm a little bit worried with regards to the productivity up front. I think what we're doing at this present moment isn't great in terms of XG. I know XG is not a measure of absolutely everything, but Leeds are going into games and not looking threatening whatsoever. I don't know if the Dan James striker experiment is working, to be quite honest with you. Jack Harrison looks a shadow of his former self, and that's why I loved it. This preview's massive, what I'm doing right now, because this is huge in terms of team selection for Marcelo Bielsa. Does he go with Jack Harrison? Does he go with Dan James up front? Does he start Joffy? Does he start Cody Drameh? These are all going to be huge questions. Does Adam Forshaw start? Massive questions to answer. And I think this is why this lineup genuinely could be unpredictable with everything that's happened with Stuart this week in terms of that interview and Marcelo Bielsa's headspace in being that person who has to care, has that duty of care to one of his long-term players? Does he leave him out after that? I don't know. Does he deserve a little bit of a rest? A lot of people are talking about Tyler Roberts as well. Ryan says, bench Roberts, please. Yeah, Roberts just can't start this game. I heard Harrison was playing with a rib injury. That is on the rumour mill as well. Harrison apparently playing with a rib injury, but I just think his confidence is on the floor at this moment in time. Get your lineups in, guys. I want to know exactly how you would start this game with regards to what I was talking about earlier on. And I just want to get into... There's a lot of people, I always say on this channel, opinions are what makes any football show, and you should never abuse anybody for an opinion. You should never, personally attack somebody because of an opinion on football. But I wanted to go out on a whim, really, and ask you guys, do you think this is a must-win game? For me, this is a must-win game. 100%. We must be winning this game. If this isn't a must-win game, what other game in the Premier League is a must-win for Leeds United in terms of the calibre of the opponent? This is a side who have scored 3 goals in 19 matches. I don't think they've won in, I think it's 15 or 16 Premier League games. That's appalling. That is a woeful record. They set up to defend. There is no identity there. If you saw my opposition preview with Chris Reeve from Talk Norwich City, Chris seems dejected. He seems completely unaware of what their philosophy is, what their ethos is as a club at this moment in time. So for me, you've got to go there and you've got to rip up the textbook and you've got to really stick it past Norwich. The ultimate aim here is a win, but going in there and looking for a draw and thinking a draw is acceptable, no chance, absolutely no chance. Look at Burnley last year away, stuffed 4 past them. This year, 1-1. Okay, we said Turf Moor was a tough place to go. Fair enough. I still think it was a bad result in terms of the performance as well. Leeds had 15 minutes in that game. The rest was Burnley's for me. Newcastle, a dejected Newcastle side who that week, the fans were saying that there was going to be protests here, there and everywhere. They were hounding out the team for the style of play. They were hounding out the manager, the owner. They had injuries. Leeds went there with a better team for the first half. Second half, Newcastle were well in it and deserved a point. These are teams that we got 3 points off last season. Went to Newcastle, beat them 2-1 with a better team by far last year. So, how far does this go? Where is our next must-win coming from? This is a must-win for me. We've got to go to Norwich and win this game. As I said, no identity. They stick 11 men behind the ball pretty much every single time. Once again, it's a club, in my opinion, in a little bit of an unknown place. They don't know whether or not to keep Farke or not. So there's half in, half out in terms of Farke. A lot calling for change. So once again, Leeds have got to go down. There's no excuses. As it says in the title, there is no excuses for this one. I understand that we haven't got Bamford. I understand that, but we've got players to really hurt Norwich. Raphinha is fit. Rodrigo, 27 million quid, is fit. Dan James, 25 million quid, is fit. Jack Harrison, 11 million quid, is fit. Matthias Klick, been our superstar for so many seasons now. A young, exciting player in Joe Gelhardt who looks absolutely on fire. A Leeds team who've come off the back of a Wolves result when we were the better team and we should have won that game. And I thoroughly believe if Rafa wasn't taken off, Leeds would have won that game. So for me, Leeds have to win this game. There's no excuses. And I'm really interested to hear what you guys think. Dan says it's starting to feel like Bam Bam out for a while, but yes, must win. Paul Smith, I think there's a bit of a chat going on. You can't play Cresswell in front of Llorente. Yeah, not for me. Not for me. I think there's definitely a thing of putting the youngsters in there when they're needed to be in there. If players in our first 11 are out of sorts or there's injuries, that's when I understand putting your youngsters in, i.e. your Joe Gelhardt, i.e. your Cody Drame. But I think sticking someone like a Cresswell in for a Llorente, that doesn't really make sense when Llorente is arguably our one of our best players. Philip says throw everything at them, Norwich will crumble. And this is no disrespect to Norwich. Norwich are a fantastic championship side when they come up, but for whatever reason, they just can't keep up that momentum. And it would really... The question I would put to you guys is, would you be worried if we lost this game or drew this game? I certainly would be. And Chris, who came on the channel the other day, said a draw for Norwich isn't good enough either. We need to have this mentality of going there and taking them apart. We would have last season. That needs to carry on this season. We're not just a one-man team in Patrick Bamford. So whatever adaptability happens, I still think we've got decent resources to go to Norwich and pick up the victory for me. it's a must-win game after the fixtures are very difficult. And I agree, Vic's right. This is another thing, and it's another point. If Leeds do not win this game, we are going into a murderer's row. We are going into a murderer's row of fixtures, and wins are going to be hard. They're going to be hard to come by. They really are. If we're being completely real, like we are on this channel, it's going to be a really difficult period with the injuries that we have and the injuries that we seem to be picking up as well. It's going to be tough for a Leeds United side with our starting 11 out, but picking up so many injuries. We've had a really nice sort of last month in terms of fixtures. Last couple, 5-6-ish weeks. Burnley in there, Newcastle, Wolves at home, some good fixtures. And now Norwich, we said at the start when we were playing Southampton, another one in there, good fixtures for Leeds. And it's not been good enough so far. So for this one, based on the fixtures coming up as well, Leeds simply have to get the win. Allard has got his team in, says Melier, Shax, Diego, Strout, Firpo, Calvin, Forshaw, Joffy, James, Rafa, Rodrigo. Joffy just behind Rodrigo. Don't mind that at all. I want to know if you guys would start Joe Gelhardt as well for this game. Robert says Melier, Shaq, Llorente, Cooper, Firpo, Phillips, Somerville, Raphinha, Gelhardt, James, Rodrigo. What do you think of Bielsa admitting Harrison has been poor? Never seen him not take the blame before. Yeah, if you haven't seen this as well today, guys, Marcelo Bielsa, I haven't got the exact quotes, but he said, Harrison's performances haven't been at that same level as they were last year, which I think is so obvious for everybody to see. We've seen that not only with Jack Harrison, I think it's key to say. Liam Cooper, who I thought was superb really last season. Matthias Klick, Stuart Dallas, there's been a whole host of them, but it is fascinating, isn't it? It really is. Let's have a look what some of you guys are saying as well. Klick needs to be rested. The thing is, James, I don't know how many. I guess if you put in Forshaw in there as well, that could be helpful. Lewis Bate in and around Shackleton. There are options there. It's just whether or not they are top quality options, which I think we need right now. Jordan says hopefully they come at us in hopes of getting 3 points and we can attack them without sitting back and take the win. Yeah, and I think this is another thing that Norwich are going to be doing. I think Norwich defensively have been poor this season, but I think they've been setting up defensively as well. What we were speaking about the other day on the opposition preview is they've not really come out on attack teams. Farker also pre-Chelsea, the pre-Chelsea 7 Norwich 0 was talking about Leeds, and he was talking about this being the big game. Now, I think that's completely wrong for a manager to be doing before a game, looking forward to the week afterwards. But what I do think is Farker is targeting this game. He's hugely targeting this game, and I'm sure Bielsa is as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see whether or not he deploys a really, really attacking side against Leeds, because Leeds at this moment in time are not good going forward. We're all right at the back. The midfield is a little bit, well, it's threadbare, isn't it? But let's be brutally honest with you. So whether or not he just throws hell to the wind and thinks, look, we're going to sort of alleviate our defensive responsibilities in a way, because Leeds aren't great going forward right now, and we're just going to go gung-ho and go for the attack and see if Leeds can stand it. I genuinely believe Jordan's right there. I think that is what Norwich will do. I think you're going to see a real attacking style of play from Norwich, which probably would mirror them coming up in 2019 and deploying that week in, week out, which ultimately got them relegated. But against the Leeds side, also void of confidence, but, scrambled with injuries as well. I think that's how Norwich are going to come out. Leeds need to be well aware of that. Well aware of that. John says Gibson suspended, helping us. Yeah, I think it's Ozan Kabak as well in there, which Ozan Kabak, when he came to Ellen Road for Liverpool, I thought was really, really poor last year. I thought he was very, very poor, very, very easily knocked off the ball, not very quick as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see how he does play for Norwich. Philip says, really think we're going to smash 4 or 5 past Norwich. I hope you're right, Phil. Too many players, says Stephen, underperforming. If they can improve to previous levels, we will be okay this season. Yeah, and I think that's why I get sort of a bit irritated with the whole, it's only so-and-so games in. It's only so-and-so games in. We'll be fine. This will be fine thing. People need to start getting it out of their head. They really do. It's the here and now. Players need time to adapt. It's the here and now. We are in it. We're in the thick of it right now. 10 games in after the weekend, and normally that's a measure of where you're going to end the season 99% of the time. So people need to wake up and smell the coffee a little bit when it comes to that. It's it's a lot of tough games coming up, and I think picking up points against these sort of teams, we've got Palace coming up at home, we've got Brentford coming up at home. We can't be scared of these sides. We need to be picking up some serious points, and I think Norwich is the marker of it. And as I've said 100%, Leeds can kickstart the season. I've said it against Watford the week after. We were extremely poor against Southampton. But, us going out there and putting a statement win against Norwich, it might not, the Premier League heads, they all might not turn around and say, did you see Leeds go and beat Norwich? Because everyone probably expects us to do that. But that can kickstart something. We just need to keep it up. Momentum is key in this division. Connor, what you think from now to Christmas? Realistically, points we could get. I don't. To be honest, Mooks, I don't have all the fixtures to hand, but I know it's a really, really tough run. We've got some, as I've said, we've got some winnable games in there. We've got a home game against Brentford coming up. We've got home games against Palace coming up. Villa's in and around there as well. So these are games which you'd be expecting Leeds to pick up points, but to turn around and say, we'll get there, there. Players are just adapting, players are adjusting. It's now. We need to. I keep saying it, guys, but get those hats on. It's right now. It's not going to be in 5-10 games time. Potentially when we get our fit. We've never had a fit squad under Marcelo Bielsa. It's never happened. So we always have to roll with the punches. I said last season we were lucky in terms of the players that we had available. We had Raphinha for a sustained period, Phillips for a sustained period, Llorente for a sustained period in the last 12 to 13 games. We've not had that this season. We've reverted back to the championship injuries where we used to get them every week to key players. So, it's all about picking up points against teams like Norwich. That's why it's just simply a must win. Let's have a look. Bjorn says, slightly worried no matter how it ends at Carrow Road. Interesting. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are talking about, James has just said, need a goal or two from midfield apart from Raphinha to breed confidence, too reliant on Bamford and Rafa for too long. Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. I completely agree. The connectivity, the intensity, there's a real lack of confidence. I think Brownie was saying when he went to Arsenal, and he said all the Leeds players, even just before the game, were just ballooning the balls over the bar, and they weren't hitting the target. And you do sort of see a little bit of that in matches in terms of conviction. I want to see a bit more from Jack Harrison. I know he's got, if he's got a rib injury, fair enough, keep him out, put someone else in, put Somerville in there. But Jack Harrison, I want to see more from him. I want to see more from Dan James. I want to see more ultimately from Rodrigo. All these senior players, those three just in question, guys, are worth 63 million. Norwich have nothing like that on the field. They have nothing like that on the field. So, in terms of squad value as well, we've got to be going there and really imposing ourselves and sort of bullying Norwich and not letting them have that momentum on us, really. A lot of people talking about the order of games. Connor, do you think we'll be able to hold on to Raf this summer, and especially if we finish below 13th? Dal, listen, I don't want to get onto it. I think I'm going to do a separate video on Raphinha. But no, I don't think so, Dal. If I'm being brutally honest with you, just because I think he's a top 4 player. So I think even if Leeds were to finish 8th, 7th or 8th, he wouldn't stick around because he's a top 4 player. He's arguably someone who should be challenging for titles. He's that good. This is a guy who went away with Brazil and was the star man there, in a squad littered with top quality players. So Raphinha for me he's going to be at the top level, and we've just got to accept that. We've got to accept it, and hopefully we'll get some great money for him and just enjoy him while he lasts at Leeds. Hello from Skegness. I would start Drame at right back and Shaks at centre midfield with Rodrigo just in front of him and Gelhardt up front. I think that's a really good option. Henry, yeah, definitely. It's going to be fascinating to see whether or not he deploys Forshaw in there as well. I know Forshaw got some minutes against Arsenal. The first half against Arsenal were decent. Second half, it tailed off a little bit when when all the substitutions were made. Michael, how many points realistically do we need to stay up? I reckon 35 will do. I always go with 40, Michael, just to stay safe. That's my personal opinion. Raf could play with any everyone's saying that Raf could play with any league. Molly Polly. Is Raphinha as good as he is holding us back? All our play seems to go through him at the moment. No, because without Raphinha, mate, at this moment in time, you look at his goal contributions and how significant he was for Leeds in the second half of last season, would have been nowhere near ninth. Raphinha is everything in our attacking play. And I know what you're saying. I completely get that. But if Raphinha wasn't in this side, what would happen? right now? What would happen in an offensive capacity? He's been involved in pretty much every single goal we've scored, and he is the man who creates something out of nothing. You know, there's a lot of square passing. There's a lack of direct play. That's what Joe Gelhardt brought last week against Wolves, getting the ball and running at the defence. That's what defenders hate. And none of our team does that. They don't get the ball in an offensive capacity and run at the defence. It's square, 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 cross, square, 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 cross. And that's what Rafa does. Rafa puts the fear of God into defenders. And we've got that in Joe Gelhardt. We've got that in Raphinha. But the reason they go through him is because he's the main man. The reason they give the ball to him is because they know something's going to happen. And that's the problem for your Jack Harrisons, for your Rodrigos, you know, for players of that ilk, for your Dan James, because they need to start doing it themselves. I'm sure Rafa would love a little bit of help instead of him getting kicked all over the place and him having to conjure up something. And that's why you've seen so many players so many clubs try and isolate Raphinha. You know, you saw it against Wolves last week. They just completely isolate him, stick two men on him, kick him up and down the field, and they got the result in the end, didn't they? We'll wrap this guys up. We'll wrap this up, guys, at some point. I know there's 400 of you watching. If you wouldn't mind liking the video, I know you enjoy the previews, guys. So I've been going on for about 30 minutes. If you'd like, comment and subscribe. We will be back for the debrief on Monday. I'm going to try to do a review after the game. I might try to do a watch along on Sunday as well. If you want to see that, then slap a like, give a comment. So John says, I'm going to calm things down. We will win at the weekend. There is no question. They're a very poor side, much like West Brom of last year. And I agree, John. I agree. I think we will win. I think we will win, mate. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Leeds win. Let me know in the comment section below, guys, what you would do, what lineup you would have. I want to know if there's any shocks in there as well, and I want to know your score predictions ultimately. But I'm going to go with a 3-1 Leeds win. I know we've been talking everything in and around Leeds, but this hasn't been negative or anything like that. We're just talking facts, exactly what's going on. And the fact is, Leeds need to win this weekend with the murderers row we have coming up. Game Guy Ethan says 3-0. 2-0. Mohammed Smith says Joffrey needs to be eased in, though, similar to Foden. I'd agree, Mohammed. You bang on. But I'm struggling to see the impact of any other offensive player on this side, aside from him and Raphinha. And that's a problem for me. I saw more in what Joffrey did against Wolves than I have seen from, obviously, you know, I know Jack Harrison's been in and out the side. Tyler Roberts, you know, arguably Matthias Klick, you know, Stuart Dallas. So it's really Dan James. I don't know if I just mentioned him, but Joffrey's made such an impact, and we all saw how fantastic he was at linking up with the likes of Rodrigo, you know, and our midfield partners in there as well. So I think, yes, he needs to be eased in. But, you know, you've got Livramento at Southampton, who's 17, who's been their best player this season. You've got loads of examples through the Premier League of kids who've been given a chance, who've been fantastic. I think it's Joffrey's time now. He's been waiting in the wings for the 23s for so long now, where we've all wanted to see him. How long do we... I agree in terms of him being eased in, but what does that mean? Is that just sort of 15-minute spells for the rest of the season? Because are we going to regret that at the end of the season? 3-2, 2-1, 2-1, Mustard Gelhard, 2-1 Leeds. Cheers for the discussion video. Like them, like therapy. That's what it is, Michael. I need to start renaming it like a catharsis. I don't know, a cathartic therapy session or something like that. It's not really got a ring to it. But guys, thank you so much for joining on your Friday afternoon. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you for the review and the debrief on Monday. Cheers, guys.